In September 1991, a single guitar riff, scratchy, raw, and completely unpolished, tore through the glittering fabric of mainstream pop music and changed the cultural landscape forever. No one saw it coming, least of all the three young men from the Pacific Northwest who had just spent a few weeks in a California studio recording what they thought would be a modest underground release. When Nirvana unleashed Nevermind upon the world, they didn't just release an album, they detonated a cultural bomb that obliterated the polished, manufactured aesthetics of the late 1980s and gave a roaring, distorted voice to a restless generation. To understand the sheer magnitude of this musical earthquake, you have to remember what the mainstream sounded like just months before Smells Like Teen Spirit hit the airwaves. The charts were dominated by heavily produced synth pop, pristine dance pop, and the fading, hairsprayed remnants of glam metal, where image, leather, and pyrotechnics often mattered far more than raw emotion. Music had become a corporate product, perfectly packaged and entirely predictable. But beneath that glossy surface, a profound disillusionment was brewing among young people. Generation X was coming of age in a world of economic uncertainty, rising divorce rates, and a deep-seated skepticism toward the plastic promises of commercial culture. They didn't see themselves in the hypersexualized, party-all-night anthems of the Sunset Strip, nor did they relate to the squeaky-clean pop stars of daytime television. They were looking for something real, something that mirrored their own anxiety, frustration, and alienation. Enter Kurt Cobain, Krist Novoselic, and a newly recruited powerhouse of a drummer named Dave Grohl. Emerging from the rainy, isolated environment of Seattle and the surrounding Washington suburbs, Nirvana had already built a reputation in the underground indie circuit with their debut album, Bleach. But Bleach was heavy, murky, and deeply indebted to the sludge-heavy sounds of the local scene. It was when they signed to a major label and teamed up with producer Butch Vig that the true alchemy happened. What made Nevermind so explosive wasn't just the noise, but the brilliant, almost paradoxical fusion of aggressive punk rock energy with undeniable, Beatles-esque pop melodies. Kurt Cobain possessed a rare, instinctual genius for songwriting. He understood that a song could be incredibly loud and fiercely heavy, yet still feature a hook that you couldn't get out of your head. This dynamic became the band's signature weapon, the quiet loud quiet formula. A verse would start with a clean, unassuming bassline or a sparse guitar strum, building an intense, suffocating tension, only to explode in the chorus into a wall of ferocious, distorted sound and primal, throat-shredding vocals. When Smells Like Teen Spirit debuted, it acted as a beacon. The music video, featuring a chaotic, anarchist high school pep rally filled with rebellious teenagers and middle-aged janitors, became an overnight sensation on MTV. Suddenly, the corporate music executives who pride themselves on predicting the next big trend were caught completely off guard. They had initially pressed only a few thousand copies of Nevermind, expecting it to sell respectably among alternative rock fans. Instead, stores couldn't keep the record on the shelves. By early 1992, Nevermind achieved the unthinkable. It knocked Michael Jackson's multi-million-dollar album Dangerous off the #1 spot on the Billboard charts. This wasn't just a shift in the charts, it was a total regime change. Virtually overnight, the hair metal bands that had ruled the decade were rendered obsolete, their elaborate costumes and guitar solos suddenly looking ridiculous and dated next to three guys in thrift store cardigans, ripped jeans, and flannel shirts. The Seattle sound, quickly labeled grunge by the media, became the center of the universe. Bands like Pearl Jam, Soundgarden, and Alice in Chains were thrust into the global spotlight as record labels scrambled to sign anyone who remotely sounded like they came from the Pacific Northwest. But the success of Nevermind came with a heavy, tragic irony. Kurt Cobain never wanted to be the voice of a generation. He was an intensely private, deeply sensitive artist who despised the very corporate machine that was now marketing his angst to the masses. The sudden, overwhelming fame, the loss of anonymity, and the constant scrutiny of his personal life exacerbated his internal struggles and long-standing battles with chronic pain and addiction. The very audience he had criticized in his lyrics was now singing those lyrics back to him in massive stadiums, creating a profound sense of artistic conflict that he found increasingly difficult to navigate. Despite the tragic brevity of Nirvana's career, ending with Cobain's devastating passing in 1994, the impact of Nevermind remains entirely undiminished decades later. It stripped away the pretense of the music industry and proved that authenticity, raw emotion, and genuine vulnerability could conquer the world. It democratized music, inspiring countless teenagers to pick up cheap guitars, form bands in their garages, and write from the heart, without needing $1 million production budget. Nevermind didn't just change the sound of the 90s, it permanently redefined what mainstream music could be, leaving a legacy that continues to resonate with every young person who feels misunderstood, out of place, and looking for a voice in the noise. If you enjoyed this journey through one of the most revolutionary moments in music history, make sure to hit that subscribe button, leave a like on the video, and drop a comment below sharing your thoughts on Nirvana, your favorite track from Nevermind, or how this legendary album influenced your own musical taste.